This is going to be an interesting podcast, I can tell you right now. Many of us just came from celebrating Chris Lahane's birthday with cake, and we're ready for a nap. And we decided not to even chat before we push record. It's just, we're going to figure out, we're going to do this podcast on the fly, Angie. What do you think of that?
Without notes and all. No, we do have a little bit of notes, but we're ready.
Don't tell the trade secrets.
Yes, that's right. All off script. Well, how's everybody doing on this beautiful October day?
Ready for a nap.
It is beautiful.
See, we were just discussing October, though, and how we said October kind of feels a little bit like it's going to end too soon. Mm-hmm. This beautiful weather could end tomorrow.
If you could have 2 months out of the year that lasted longer, what 2 months would they be?
Oh, September and October. I mean, I think.
Oh, you go consecutive.
Wow.
Big time. Yeah, let the
Interesting.
fall go as long as, because look, we've been over this. I've expressed my. I know I'm getting judged hard by Angie right now. For those of you who can't see, which would be everybody, but she's judging me hard. Look, fall and Halloween, it's like the middle child of the year. Okay.
Oh my!
Often forgotten. All right. Let's just enjoy it while it's here. Enjoy the season.
Dustin, were you the middle child?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. I don't want to forget it.
We're hearing you. We
you.
validate you.
We see you.
See
We see
me?
you.
Validate my love for the fall.
Yes.
I would say July would be one for me.
Gross.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
I just
wow.
love the heat and the fair and the food and the pools. Love it all. I do like September though. Like there's a nice temperature there typically that I like.
Is that because it's the 9th month of the year?
That was exactly why.
Yeah.
Yep. Although sept means 7, so I'm not sure where we got that.
Knight, what do you think?
I am a May and October.
You're a May and October.
Yep. I like it when things are changing. So coming through April, weather's starting to land to be a little bit nicer. Like October, things are, you can wear flannel. That's a great thing.
Okay, I kind of feel like this is one of those questions that you would be asked at a, interview. And I want to say April 25th. It's the perfect day of the year. It's not too hot and not too cold. Do you know where that comes from, Brant? What movie that is?
April 25th.
Yes.
Not too hot. It's
Not too cold. Yes, it's okay. It's okay.
Was this a trivia
Groundhog?
question?
Miss Congeniality.
Oh.
Anyways,
Watched that way too many times.
that's my birthday.
too.
April's
Never
my
seen it.
birthday. April's 25th is my birthday.
Wow.
And October would be my second one.
Wow.
July's pushing it, and I'm with you on the July.
Yeah.
Like hot dogs, campfire, fireworks, all the fun.
All the fun
Yeah.
happens in July.
And fair, yes. But that's not what we're talking about today. But it is beautiful out. So listener, if you're driving around, take a look at that beautiful fall sky tonight. I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous. It has been the last couple nights. So, but we do have some trivia. If you've joined
Let's
us,
go.
we're on our second podcast, kind of in a series talking about some specific words. Last time we talked about following and growing. And today we're going to talk about serve and multiply. So we're going to take some trivia on the word serve and multiply. Okay?
I'm ready.
Let's do
Are
it.
you ready? Okay.
No.
Okay. Well,
let's go.
these guys, I came with the trivia. They come with the answers.
Let's
okay.
go, Angie.
So,
I appreciate that.
We will see about that.
okay. So, which of the following is a responsibility or important when serving people? This is
Multiple
a
choice,
question.
boys.
Yes,
Multiple choice.
Multiple choice. A, to give food and drink. B, to practice the golden rule. C, to knock on the door. D, meet the expectation. E, continue the game. Or D, all of the above.
Wait, time
You
out.
did D twice.
You did D twice.
Oh, I'm
after
sorry.
E.
going
A,
with
B,
D.
C, D, E,
E,
F,
F.
F, D. Yes, F. All of the above.
Knock on the door. What does that mean?
This seems like
Continue
an
the game.
Which of the following
We'll get back to you.
is a responsibility or important when serving people?
I'm going to say F, all the above.
Okay, do
Partially
you have a
'cause
reason?
I didn't understand some of those. And so I'm just I'm gonna play it
There's too
safe.
many options,
I'm
so it's
playing
got to
it
be all
safe.
of
And
them.
some of them, yeah, they could be multiple. So I'm just gonna go all of them.
I'm with Dustin.
Wow.
I'm gonna go with whatever the last letter was.
Angie, what
Yeah.
was B? Can you remind us?
B was practice the golden rule.
Ooh, okay. That sounds good. What was A?
A was to give food or drink.
Okay, listen.
What was W?
I'm going to say all the above as well.
You guys are correct. Yay!
One for one.
Because serving has multiple meanings. Let's go. A, to give food and drink. You are a server.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
When you practice the golden rule, you what?
Servant.
Serve. Yeah, servant. You serve people. When you knock on the door, you are serving someone a paper.
I was
like
leaning
serve.
towards interruption.
Yeah.
Yeah, serve. Like
That's
you're
called
serving.
company.
Like you are served.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, you got served.
served.
Oh,
You
I
got
it.
served. Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
catching a theme here.
Yeah. And then meet the expectation. This should serve its purpose.
Okay.
Okay.
Some of these are a stretch.
I know. And then continue the game is
It's your serve.
it's your serve.
Let's go. Tennis.
I didn't
Volleyball.
Or pickleball.
I didn't play those sports.
So I just say that sometimes I think we think of serve and we kind of put it in a box.
Oh,
So we're going to get further along in this podcast.
That's going to go deep.
It is going to
Yep.
go deep. Okay.
That will preach.
So, next question. Okay, if you remember, we were talking about bamboo.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
we were talking about bamboo. See, you have to go back and listen to the other podcast, listener, if you want to learn about bamboo.
Isn't that the one that Brant said Orchard Grove or like
Wow.
something
Yes.
like that?
That didn't
Yes.
happen.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Is bamboo a tree or grass? This is just two choices. Is bamboo a tree or grass?
It's you didn't give us letters, but A, grass, final answer.
Well, it
Okay.
was definitely B, grass. A was tree.
Okay.
So grass. I'm going to go with grass as well.
okay.
Oh my word! I will say it is a tree.
Okay.
I'll be wrong. I'm wrong, aren't I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's a very
okay.
thick grass.
And you're a grass guy.
It's a very thin tree.
This ties to our word multiply because guess what? It is a grass. And what does grass do? It actually has an underground root system, like other things, that goes and it spreads. Even when you harvest it, it's still there inside the root system.
Wow.
So that's our trivia for today, listener.
Chris Knight.
Yeah. So I think
I was
we
serving
can.
you.
I know. So I'm
guys
gonna.
win.
It's okay.
You just got served.
Yeah, we just got served. So Chris Knight, you preached these last 2 weeks on these two words. So you want to lead us into why we're talking about serve
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
multiply.
So this series was called Unwavering Commitment, and it really comes out of the vision statement that we recently released as a church this year. And the thought was we have a mission statement, and that is making disciples who love Jesus and love people. But the vision statement comes along and says, what do we expect if that, in fact, did happen? If we were really doing that, what kind of things could be expected here? And so our vision statement simply says this: guided by our unwavering commitment to follow Jesus, to grow in faith, to serve others, and to multiply disciples, we envision a church where lives are being transformed, communities are impacted, and God's kingdom is advanced. And so we took those 4 words, Dustin and I, follow, grow, serve, and multiply, and just built this series around it with the idea that if the church was to do those things and accomplish those things, then we have to realize it's not about the organization of the church, it's about us as individuals. And this is something we need to look at personally. If I am following Jesus, if I am growing, if I'm serving, if I'm multiplying, then we can envision an impacted community for Christ.
I think these are important. We talked about laying down this vision as giving us kind of a framework for what it means to make disciples who love Jesus and love people. It's the kind of the working progress that we can see in our lives. Are you growing? Are you following Jesus? Are you serving? Are you multiplying? Do you see the fruit of God's work in your life? And so I think we talked a lot about some great things about following and growing. So let's talk about serve. And I said in the trivia that we often put serve in a box. So I have this question here, and I want us to just kind of roundtable this, is why is it so important to serve as a disciple of Christ? Because I think we put serve in a box and keep it there, and we bring it out on a raking leaves day on a Saturday at Prairie Camp, which they really will need help this fall. So those of you listening want to go to Prairie Camp, you can always go help rake leaves.
They have a few leaves. They have a few leaves.
But I'm just saying, we put it in a box and we take it out, or we serve on a Sunday morning. So let's talk about what does service look like and why is it so important?
Well, Chris kind of detailed it out on Sunday morning when he gave this message, but he gave us 3 simple steps to start serving. And that was 1, to see the need, be aware enough to see it. 2, understand the need. And then 3, meet the needs. I don't know if you and Dustin want to elaborate on those things, but.
Dustin
Absolutely,
did.
Dustin.
Definitely. I really appreciated the way that you did break that down, because I think sometimes we make things like this, we make it more complicated than it needs to be. So the idea of just seeing the need, and I think that's one that I felt convicted by even when you were talking about it, because how often do I come across a need where I do see it? There is something, whether it's just day to day or whatever, there's a situation I'm aware of or not, and then all of a sudden I see this need that comes up, and it's easy for me to want to just either pass it on to somebody else or just maybe justify my way around it. Well, I've already got so much other stuff going on. But then the second 2 points that you had with just understanding it, like taking that next step to not only just seeing it, but to truly try to understand, the situation that person's going through. I think that creates a compassion and an empathy for the person, for the serving to actually happen. And then just to going the extra step to actually meet the need, what needs to be done for the need to be met of that person or that situation. So really putting those practical steps to something like serving. Again, we hear all these terms a lot, following, growing, serving, this idea of multiplying and making more disciples. There are words and terms that we hear all over in church, but to actually break them down and to offer some real life, practical, applicable steps that we can each take individually and as a body, I thought was super helpful.
One of the things I think is important, to go back to your question exactly, you said, why is it important to serve? Mm-hmm. And I think it's important because Jesus did it, and he modeled it. He set for us a model. And if he says it's important, then I think we should do this. I pulled out the illustration of the Last Supper in the sermon a little bit, and I was struck by something, maybe for the first time, in the idea that Jesus at the beginning of the Last Supper washes the disciples' feet and says, I've set for you a model. Follow this, do this. And then by the end of the meal, they're arguing about who's the greatest. And I think that's a perfect picture of human nature, isn't it? We default back to self. And Jesus is saying, hey, I want you to model service.
Mm-hmm. I think in our culture, and I am going to kind of talk a little bit about, I want to know what you guys think about this whole putting service in a box, is because we compartmentalize our faith so much. And so when we talk about following and growing, it's exciting when you're like at church. Oh, I'm going to go and I'm going to worship and I'm going to grow and I'm going to learn. I'm going to go to Bible study. And it's kind of like fun. And I'm not saying that but it has community involved. It has people involved. It has maybe an experience involved. And when we break down serve, it's kind of lonely sometimes. And I would say that sometimes it's easier to compartmentalize and put it in a place where it doesn't aggravate us, doesn't make us uncomfortable, doesn't make us try something new or meet somebody new. But actually, I think when we think of serve, and when you just said, and I'm saying this because I think what you just said is Jesus asked us to do it. And I think we always say the golden rule, well, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. But I think it's actually treat others as Jesus would. And a lot of times it's different than the way we think.
Isn't service a sign of maturity? Because the things you mentioned there, you gave some good illustrations. I come because I want the music. I want this. I want to grow. I want to hear this. I want this to happen to me. And it really is a difference between I want to get something as opposed to I want to give something. And it's a lot more desirable at times to get something than it is to give something.
Mm-hmm. And it's harder. It's harder to give because it is kind of one of these things where you feel that it may not be glorious or have some type of reward. I mean, sometimes when we ask our kids to serve us and, pick up the dinner dishes and put them in the dishwasher, we give them an allowance. And I actually believe that's not what is service. That's kind of a reward for an action. Service is doing something without a reward.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you may not see it. What do you think, Dustin?
Yeah, no, I mean, going back to a little bit what Chris said, just the idea of it being a model, and is like we think about our lives and how are we modeling our lives to others. Is it one where we are looking for to do things where people will then in turn look back at us and say, man, wow, look at what they're doing? Or is it one where we are trying to live a life of service and of serving other people? So when they look and like, man, why they don't have to be doing that, but that's the picture of Jesus washing the feet. I mean, what an amazing picture that is of just humble and of being humble and of being a servant, and just the example that sets for us. And still so often today, it's you don't really see a lot of humble leadership, a lot of humility in leadership. I mean, it's just something that I think so many people are like, well, you can't be that way and be a person that's super effective. And I think that's exactly how, for us as believers, the way that we can be the most effective and to look like Jesus is to follow the model that he is so clearly given us to follow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Can anybody think of somebody in your life that you were like really impacted by on the side of service? Like when you think back in your Christian walk and you're like, that person, they know how to serve, they know how to give, and they don't look at themselves.
Mine doesn't have to go back very far. I was mowing my lawn just a couple hours here before the podcast today because it's been a week, hasn't it? We've been through as a church a lot this week. We had a family in our church lose a child tragically. And to me, as I was mowing, I was just thinking about all the service that I saw this week play out. And it was nice to see families in the midst of grief drop everything, give of themselves in all kinds of ways. But one other thing that I thought was really interesting was, every one of us sitting around the table has some kind of connection back to Napanee Missionary Church. And I was thinking about them and how their staff served us so well. Behind the scenes, making sure everything was set in place, just being unselfish with all that they had and making a way for us to be able to serve others. I thought that was something that stood out to me. I was very grateful for to see another church serve another church very well.
Mm-hmm. Brand, do you have any thoughts on people who you've seen serve, or maybe someone who's may had an impact on you?
Yeah, there's several. Actually, your dad is one that I continually see serve within humility, and not for anything other than just to serve. Rich Whitmer. Actually, the last couple of years, I've seen this play out way more than I ever have before. So I think just watching people actually live it out versus just give lip service has been refreshing to me. They are available to be interrupted and stop what they are doing in order to help somebody else in need. They are aware enough to see a need, and they understand it, and then they are fully committed to helping meet the need. And so sometimes it's simple. Sometimes it's just listening to people and processing with them. I've seen that so many times. Sometimes that's actually getting up out of their chair and going with them somewhere to do something totally unplanned for the day. So I've seen that play out in our staff quite a bit, specifically those two over the last couple of years.
Mm. I asked that question because the reason I ask it ties so well to our next word, and multiply, because I would like you guys to maybe respond to this, that as you follow and you grow and you begin to serve, live out your faith, what should be the last default? It should be multiply. There should be leaving a legacy behind you, leaving your life, of an impact on someone, whether it can be your own children, it can be your own family, it can be a friend, it can be a coworker, it can be multiple things. So let's talk about this word multiply. And I loved how you said it. It's more than a talking point. How does multiplication become our default? Like that's kind of the order, a progression of our faith, of discipleship, and that all of a sudden multiplication is just happening. It's not something we're just talking about.
I think it's like anything. You have to put it into practice. And once you get more and more comfortable with putting it into practice, it becomes a default. By nature, I go back probably 15 years ago, and I would say discipleship was not something that was natural for me. It was not. It was actually very unnatural. And I just started doing it. And the more I got comfortable taking those steps of discipleship, the more it became a default for me. To now, I don't even think about it. I'm involved in it. It's a part of our DNA. And I think how it becomes a default is it's Nike, right? I mean, just do it. Get going at it, and it can become a habit.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you think talking about it too, there's an uncomfortableness when you're unfamiliar with maybe the process of what is it? Well, how do I go about like making disciples, or what's my part in the multiplication process? How do people look at me and then all of a sudden become a disciple, or, what does that look like? And I think just being in a position where you're constantly finding yourself in these situations where you're having the opportunity, to continue to grow in your faith, so that discipleship process can be played out in your life, and that you are around others that can keep you accountable, that can help you in that as well. And I mean, I think that's a big thing, is continuing to learn and grow in your own walk, and never be stagnant, never get too comfortable to continue to grow and to keep learning, and having those people in front of you that can continue to keep pulling you and encouraging you, and then having those people that you were kind of pulling along and encouraging as well.
Mm-hmm. I think we've said this numerous times, that there's always an important thing to remember. There's really great opportunity in having someone who doesn't know Jesus and walking with them in relationship. But there's also another point, and that is walking with somebody who maybe is at this spot of the discipleship process that's almost there, and not like when I say, I'm not saying they haven't arrived, they've just are learning to serve. You're walking, it's kind of like showing them how to serve, guiding them in how to build relationship and those things, so that then that becomes natural default for them. And so I think we sometimes talk about, well, what's our one, or who are we like leading to Jesus, but who are we also helping guide to the next level in this this process of discipleship?
Yeah. It's the whole the discipleship process is the whole idea of empowerment too, right? So I do, you watch. That's the whole. Your faith is caught more than it's taught, right? I do, you help. That's what you're talking about, walking them through how to do things. Now you do and I help. You take some ownership and leadership, and I'll walk alongside you in that. And then you do and I watch. And that's the release point, right, in some way, shape, or form. I was thinking back to the Risk series that you did, Chris, in April of 2023. And you kind of broke it down this way. You begin talking to God about people, right? So you devote yourself to prayer. You pray with an alert mind. You pray for opportunities. You pray for clarity. And then from that, you begin talking to people about God. You live wisely, make the most of every opportunity, and be gracious and attractive. And then you challenge us with this question. The congregation, I believe, you challenged them for the first time. Who is your one? Who are you actively going to walk alongside and disciple, whether they are spiritually dead or they're on the discipleship wheel somewhere, and now you're going to walk them through that process that we just talked about a moment ago. And so I think that's so good to remember, right? When you begin talking to people about God, that last point that you make is be gracious and attractive. And I think that that's been a challenge that I've held on to as I talk to people, meeting them where they're at, being gracious for where they're at, and then my life modeling an attractive version of what Christianity should look like. There's something different about you. How do I become like that? And that's the whole point, I think, in the discipleship process is modeling.
Mm-hmm. I would even say this is a natural thing that happens in life. Would you agree? We as parents are models for our kids, and kids mirror us. And I often think we don't take that impact and really see the importance of that.
It's really not even if they model us.
No, it's when.
What are they going to model that they're seeing,
do
right?
it, yeah.
Yeah, because there's certain things that they repeat. You're like, that was not what I was trying to model.
Yeah. I just think that this is something we can all do. We set down and we think, well, okay, I can follow. I can follow after Jesus. I got that one. Okay, I'm going to put a check mark. I'm going after Jesus. I can grow. I'm doing my Bible study. I'm doing my devotions. Wait, okay, hold on. Serve. Okay, let me get a little bit uncomfortable. Maybe I'll open the door, say hello, or go see somebody or take them a meal or that kind of thing. But multiply.
Yeah, right. I think we've made it so big. We've made it. We've put its scale out there so big. We think everybody then has to walk on a stage and be able to be a public speaker, and that's just not the reality. The one thing that jumped out at me when I was thinking through this sermon on multiply is if you look back through Jesus's ministry, yes, he did speak to 5,000. Yes, he did speak to 4,000. But the majority of the times that you see Jesus interacting, it's with a handful of people, small group of people. It could be even just an encounter that he had along the way with somebody. But Jesus didn't look at the big crowd. He looked at the few.
Yeah, it's the people in his home, in his closest relationships. And sometimes we actually avoid those relationships and don't think about how important that multiplication process is in our home.
And it goes back to what Brant was saying with this risk series. Who's your one? That should give us hope, because we all should have somebody in our life that we can help invest in and thus multiply. Because we're not asking for... You make sure you do, you're speaking to 150, 250,000 people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not good at math. Maybe Brant can help me out here, but anything multiplied by 0 is 0. Am I right?
That's so right. Good job.
But when you think about this and like multiplication, you can't multiply something that's not existing in your life currently. So if there's nobody in your life that you have, that you're able to speak truth into, to disciple, then you're not going to be multiplying disciples. So it's easy to look maybe big picture and be like, oh yeah, as a follower of Jesus, we need to be making more disciples. But it's like if you personalize it and say, well, who am I actually discipling? And if there's nobody, then that's the thing that for me, when you ask the question, who is your one, to really personalize it and make it, okay, well, who is it? That question, I think, wasn't just for a series. That was kind of the heart of where we're at as a church, to know like, hey, if this is going to be something that we live by and like really drive home this idea of multiply. And again, not just a Walk EMC thing, but a Jesus thing, right? That told us that is okay, then this needs to be a continual reminder for me that I play a part, whether I am on a staff, whether I am a Sunday school teacher, a small group leader, or I'm attending a church. If I call myself a follower of Jesus, I am part of this mission to go and make and multiply disciples. So I need to be having those people in my life and identifying those who I can be a witness to.
Mm-hmm. I love how you said it's not about a church, it's not about our vision, and it's not even about our mission. The thing is, it's about Jesus and who he is and who he's called us to be. And that's so important for us to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. When you continue to think through discipleship or multiplication, what we often refer to as discipleship in church, we get to this point where we feel like it has to be a curriculum. It has to be, something that I'm maintaining this certain schedule with. But reality is it prioritizes relationship. It makes relationships first. And I think that's where we miss it. We say, well, it has to be education. We grow up in an education society where, I need to have all the scope and sequence memorized or figured out so that I don't mess this up. At the end of the day, it's relationship.
Right. And I think we've westernized this idea of discipleship.
way to say it.
Because if you go across the ocean or somewhere where people are like living life, and even you read about it in the New Testament, they shared their lives with the people. You share your life. Discipleship is sharing your life with somebody else and growing with them and learning and finding Jesus in moments, in everyday moments.
Some culture, it's risking your life with somebody else. We just had, a speaker come in from World Help and talk about that, the persecuted church. And risking your life to disciple others is a very a reality today too.
Chris, I really appreciated your point on the fact that it focuses on sending capacity, not seating capacity. And I thought that one really stuck out to me because I think we as a church, sometimes how big can this thing get? Like how many people can we cram in here to hear what you have to say on a Sunday morning or whatever? Like how many people can we get to this event? But that was never the goal, never the intention. And so I just think hearing it from that perspective was just such a great reminder too, that it's not about how many people come in here. It's about how many people are sent out to go and make more.
At some point, you lose effectiveness.
Right.
And sending is critical.
Right. And the church is not a building. It is people living life for Jesus in their communities and the world.
So true. Yeah, the last thing we talked about was the fact that you hand off rather than hold on to. And I think, Brand, I liked how you were saying, even as you were describing the discipleship process, when you get, let's look at these 4 words, right? Follow, grow, serve. Sometimes it's hard to even let somebody go to go serve on your own now. Like, I feel like I still need to control this situation a little bit. But multiplying is the sending out idea. And that means send with authority. Will they make mistakes? Yeah. Do we all around this table? Most of us.
3 out of 4.
Yeah, Dustin's pretty amazing.
5-star, Dustin, 5-star.
But but isn't that the reality? And when do you grow the most? I grow when I mess something up, and then I come back and I have to ask forgiveness and say, all right, so I learned some things from this. And then it makes me a better follower and a better server.
Right. And to follow Jesus is the key. And that's what I think we have to go back to. In this multiplication process, as you lead somebody, they're not following you. They're following Jesus.
That's the humility aspect of it all, right?
Yeah. And I think sometimes it's great to have people who walk life with, but in the end, we're all after our Heavenly Father and His mission, and to bring people who know Him. And walking with others means that sometimes we have to lay down our own objectives, our own expectations, and our own time.
Well, as we wrap up this podcast and as we have wrapped up this series, I would challenge people to really think through this topic of being unwavering in our commitment. And I'd ask the question, it's easy for us to say, I follow Jesus. Are you unwavering in that following? I grow. Are you unwavering in your commitment to growing? Well, I serve once in a while. Are you unwavering in your commitment to make it a part of who you are? And then multiplying. Are you unwavering in your commitment to say, you know what, when I am gone from this earth, people are still going to be growing and multiplying because I did my part while I was here? Those are the unwavering commitment questions. We appreciate that you have been following along with this series. We hope that these podcasts have been helpful. I encourage you to share them with somebody along the way if this has been beneficial. So, Angie, I'm looking forward to the next series that we have coming up.
Yeah, we actually have a guest speaker coming on. We're going to get to know our youth pastor, Andrew, on our next podcast.
Oh, buddy.
Go.
We're going to drop some trivia, aren't we?
I
on
know,
him?
we are. We are.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, friends, until next time, enjoy some fall because I feel like I should say enjoy some fall, y'all.
Enjoy some fall, y'all.
You can say it. Yeah.
Can I say that?
Yeah, sure.
All
Yeah.
right. Until next time, enjoy some fall, y'all.